Benavidez, Morrell, who wins?
It's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight. 50-50 fight.
And I think that it's going to be a war. In my eyes, I see it as a 50-50 fight.
These fighters, I think David Morrell may have needed, one or two more real tests before he really, build the resolve to be able to handle a guy with the ability, the power.
Boxing pros have published their picks for the David Benavidez versus David Morrell fight. Sean Porter endorses Bennett's to overcome Morrell in their 12-round main event this Saturday, February 1st at the T-Mobile Stadium in Las Vegas. Porter presents a stance prevalent among pro-David Benavidez fans, favoring David Benavidez due to his deeper experience in the professional arena compared to the 11-0. Morrell believes David Benavidez holds the lead over Morrell, the seasoned competition David Benavidez has seen in the pro sets, apart at 36. Andrade has passed prime and Canelo Alvarez had already taken out. Ben's triumphs over them scarcely assist to improve his reputation in this game. Rather, they underline the ambiguity around him that we know David Benavidez did not appear good in his June debut fight with Alexander Gazik. The more powerful combatant ran out of gas and exhibited little strength. Sean Porter reported that the battle is fairly evenly balanced with a slight edge to David Benavidez, whom he favored 55-45. He showed his delight about the combat, calling it a David against David and saying that he appreciated everything about it. While both fighters were huge, he considered David Benavidez was more naturally suited for the 175 beat class, he stressed. Porter went on to explain that while David Benavidez had the advantage over Morrell in terms of experience and strength, pointed out that Benz's experience in enduring resistance throughout various stages of a 12-round fight would play a crucial role, something that Morrell hadn't yet faced at the professional level. Morrell's earlier struggle against Ravia collides it with a different kind of battle, devoid of the kind of opposition a competitive 12-round contest would bring.
Is that one?
That's 50-50 right there. If anything, 55-45 for Benavidez.
Yeah.
I love David versus David. I love everything about the fight. The thing I feel that Benavidez has over Morrell is experience, is true strength.
Porter points out that Morrell has yet to face an opponent who brings relentless pressure or matches the sheer size of the cruiserweight, like David Benavidez. While Morrell handled Ravo Kadik with ease in his 175-pound debut on August 3rd last year, he wasn't forced onto the back foot the way David Benavidez is expected to push him. This Saturday, Ravo packs more power in his single punches than David Benavidez, but he wasn't looking to smother Morrell with relentless volume like the Mexican monster intends to. If David Benavidez charges in recklessly, he could walk straight into Morrell's sharp counters or get folded by a well-placed body shot. David Benavidez's debut at 175 lbs was even more terrible than Morrell's performance against Alexander Gazik. On June 15th last year, he ran out of steam after 8 rounds and found himself in great difficulty in the 12th as Gask H him in the final 30 seconds. David Benavidez was hardly more than emotionless, targeting a barrage of damaging combos from the Ukrainian. He might get knocked out early like Morrell has the power to.
Both of those guys are big guys, but I think Benavidez is more of the natural 175-pounder.
Yeah, you're like, Morrell's such a high-level technical fighter, but Jose mentioned what you just mentioned, like they feel like the experience is gonna eventually show through. Like, I don't know, take me into that, like how experience can trump like talent and technicality like that.
You know what? The thing that I know for this fight, with when you are in a competitive fight that's gonna go 12 rounds, of course you're prepared.
Chip away at Benice's head like a granite block, as we saw in his bout with Gusk. Benez absorbs headshots significantly better than body blows, a vulnerability that makes sense. His love for food often leads to significant weight gain between fights, and like many fighters with a long torso and fluctuating physique, his midsection remains a clear weak spot. When asked if he could envision David Benavidez defeating Morrell in 6 rounds, similar to his victory over the smaller and older Demetrius Andrade on November 25th, 2023, Porter remarked that he was supporting David Benavidez.
And man, how do you think Benavidez does? Your gym mate a week after you fight. How do you think that fight goes with Morrell, man?
I think David, he's looking very good. I've been in the gym with him for the past few weeks, and he's been looking great shape. doing some amazing things in the ring. Like always, you know, David's a monster. So I think he'll take care of business February 1st. I think he might even get the stoppage against David Morrell.
But wasn't sure he thought that it may take 8 or 10 rounds for something like that to happen with Morrell, given that Morrell was bigger, taller, and younger than Andrade. Porter stated that although Morrell was the same height as Andrade, he was much stronger and had more physical traits on his side. He described the battle as one with resistance on both sides, adding that it would be a beautiful showdown.
David Morrell is a guy that you can't take lightly, you know what I'm saying? He's a great fighter. He's up there for a reason, you know what I mean? One of the best Cubans out right now. So, yeah, it's going to be a great fight, you know, but I just feel like David is one of those guys too who's a monster and just doesn't let anyone take it from him, you know what I mean? And when he's in there, he's going in there for the kill. And, of course, you know, I feel like Morrell is maybe going to be his toughest opponent yet.
David Benavidez will have a hard time securing a knockout in this fight without exposing himself to serious risk, either by getting stopped by Morrell or being systematically outboxed. He can't afford to approach this bout the same way he did against the smaller aging opponents. He dominated at super middleweight, his resume at 168. His paper thin not much better than Edgar Berlanga. Meantime, Canelo Alvarez confesses he's torn on the outcome of Saturday's light heavyweight clash between David Benavidez and David Morrell.
I think he has a really good jab. You know, he's a good fighter. He keeps his distance really well, so that I feel like he's gonna make it hard for David in the early rounds. But like we saw with Caleb Plant, you know, Caleb Plant was doing a great job boxing the first few rounds when he fought David, but then David just has that chip in his shoulder where he's just coming forward. Even on the clinch hits, he's still punching. You know, he's still getting punches in, and I feel like when you're boxing a guy like David and he just keeps coming forward no matter what you do, it just makes it hard mentally for you to keep that same game plan and stick to it, because you have a monster like him throwing big punches coming in.
When David Benavidez and Morrell 2 fighters Canelo has previously been connected with content for the WBA regular and WBC interim belts, Canelo will undoubtedly be watching carefully the bookmaker's option to overcome the UN bruised Cuban. Is David Benavidez, but Alvarez believes the match will be well balanced. Canelo claimed that it's going to be a nice fight. He anticipated it to be a 50-50 battle after failing to obtain a match against Canelo, who has 3 of the 4 world titles at 168 pounds. Benav has advanced from super middleweight in June. The Mexican monster triumphed over former world champion Alexander Gazik.
It's going to be, I think Morrell's going to have to find that shot that really, you know, not only drops, but, you know, concuss. He got to knock David Benavidez out. And there's fighters you can make quit. I don't think neither one of these fighters you can make quit. Sometime you got to knock them out. And I think this is one of those type of fights where, you know, in order to secure victory, you know what I mean? In order to secure victory, one of these guys is going to have to end it with inside the distance, you know. And I think when you look at, you know, what they bring to the table, David Benavidez is going to have a little reach and size advantage.
In his debut light heavyweight bout. Meanwhile, Morrell also stepping up to 175 lb mark his entry into the division with a points win against Rav in August, however. Andy Cruz anticipates a knockout win for David Morrell, the 2020 Olympic gold medalist crew. Compares Morrell to himself, adding that both share a casual, playful approach to the sport. Benavidez appears visibly tense, a mix of anger and anxiety, as he gears up for his showdown, with Morrell watching the Mexican monster. It's clear he's carrying the weight of uncertainty, fully aware that this fight could be his undoing, but potentially
will be, I think, one of the, you know, more gifted fighters that Benavidez has faced. I think David Morrell comes in with a lot of talent. And you got, you know, a guy that has a talent like both of these guys, and they rise to the occasion. It's the moment that really gets these guys up. And I think this is the type of fight that you can say it's going to bring the best out of both of these guys.
Rendering all the hard work of his career meaningless. The knowledge that his time at the top may be coming to an end seems to torment him, driving him to assume an intimidating persona in an attempt to shake Morrell's confidence. Benitez never desired this bout, having sidestepped Morrell's constant call-outs since 2022. And for good cause. For the past 5 years, he's been cashing in against older, lesser opponents who were well past their prime. A showdown with Morrell threatens to derail that lucrative streak, forcing him into a challenge he's long avoided. What I can say about Morrell is He's a classic Cuban fighter. He's always smiling and he's always dancing. I see him very similar to me, constantly joking and always dancing, perhaps. He's even worse than me, remarked Andy Cruz to the media discussing the David Benavidez versus David Morrell fight for next Saturday, February 1st. Cruz continued about David Morrell in terms of his focus for this fight. I see him really focused. It's going to be a difficult fight, but I think he's going to put on a good show. I see him winning. I don't just see him winning. I see him winning by knockout. Us fans are rallying behind David Benavidez, viewing him as a top-tier fighter. And they won't take kindly to Morrell exposing him as a fraud. No one appreciates watching their idols revealed as empty hype, leaving them feeling duped and disillusioned. When David Benavidez loses, they will leap off his sinking ship, leaving him adrift as he slips beneath the waves. Benz's setback will be a terrible thing to stomach for his admirers. They've long lauded him as the finest fighter in the 168B division, confident he had what it takes to dethrone Canelo Alvarez. However, they've rarely studied his fighting technique or the type of opposition he's encountered over his 12-year career. This blind loyalty raises fundamental problems. Looking at Benz's most recent bout against Alexander Guik makes it clear that he is a complete fool and was never the fighter that the naive fans believed him to be compared to Benz's thin resume. His performance makes it clear he's yet another carefully crafted fighter propped up by bouts against aging, undersized opponent while competing. Outside his true weight class, light heavyweight contender Ado Kadik feels David Morrell's road to victory against David. David Benavidez lies in retaining his calm over the vital first 6 to 8 rounds. Meanwhile, Diego Pacho, a super middleweight contender, thinks David Benavidez will overcome David Morrell in a conversation with Shazid. Pacho offered a sneak peek of the highly anticipated light heavyweight showdown, reflecting on his recent sparring sessions with David Benavidez. However, his habit of repeatedly calling him David might leave viewers second-guessing which fighter he means. Maybe one of them should adopt the nickname Goliath. Just for this particular bout, Pacho told Zettel that David Benavidez had been looking very impressive, having spent the past few weeks training alongside him. He praised Ben8's great shape and the amazing things he had been doing in the ring, calling him a monster. P expressed confidence that Benitez would manage business on
February 1st, and even suggested that he would secure a stoppage victory versus David Morrell. That's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell symbol so you never miss our upcoming videos.